what's up, you guys? Welcome to the Vets to CEOs channel. I'm here with my special friend Mike. And Mike, I'm excited to share his story. He currently runs a business consultation company, and a lot of his successes have been, for me, a big inspiration and motivation because he's actually owned 2 prior businesses before that he's sold. He had a Krav Maga studio that he was running that he sold. Then he also had a email marketing / digital marketing company that he also sold as well. And it's so amazing to hear other entrepreneurs who are self-made, who was able to sell their own businesses and continue to thrive and become their own boss and escape the 9-to-5. And today we're going to be sharing his story, how he became his own boss, how he created these different companies, and how he's currently living a life of freedom, being his own boss and being able to make more money by being his own boss and in his own business. So thank you, Mike, for being on this podcast, brother. If you could share a little bit about yourself, how did you get into entrepreneurship?
First of all, thank you for having me, John. It's a pleasure to be here. How did I come into entrepreneurship was actually through my mother. She was an entrepreneur herself. She ran an accounting firm with 4 partners. They managed 200 accounts for small businesses. And I interned at her company during my school years. And I saw these small business owners about how they were hustling and how passionate they were about providing a good service, how much they cared about their customers, their products, their businesses, and the level of integrity, that they had. That really impressed me, and I wanted to be like them. I mean, my mom was established; she ran the company, but I wanted to be self-made. So actually, when I was 18, I moved to the UK to be my own man. Wow. And to start my own company.
At 18 years old, you started your own company and you moved to the UK, and your mom was the one that was sort of like your motivation to get you into the entrepreneurship route.
That's right. I mean, she really wanted me to take over for her accounting firm, and it didn't wash well with her that I moved away and moved to London and to do my own thing. Like, she was very critical of it, I have to say. So in the beginning, I faced a lot of setbacks, a lot of rejection from the family. People were talking all kinds of things. It was a tough journey, especially the first couple of years, and I had to find my own way. I had to build my own resources to get started.
I like what you said there, that your family and the friends, they did, in a sense, didn't believe in you, and they were doubting you, because I've experienced the same thing. And I always thought that your family or your loved ones will be your biggest supporters. Yeah. I actually learned it's quite the contrary, that they're not your biggest supporters. Unfortunately, I wish it could be like that, but some people, I've learned that they project themselves onto you when they see that, not necessarily that we're better or anything, we're just on a different route and we're doing something different. A lot of people, they hate, or they just think that, oh, that can't be done, or they can't do it themselves, so they bring you down to their level because they want you to be like everyone else.
So many times as well, like not just family, even after, like when going from one level to the next, like people just don't believe, like they don't think it can be done, and they try to talk you out of it. They want to keep you in their box or on that level, and it's hard to explain to them that I no longer belong there. My place is there, and I'm going. Whether with you or without you, I'm going to do it anyway.
I like that you said that. I feel like in this journey, I actually just listened to a podcast today. They were talking about that, where the higher you start to go up a hill, it's like even hiking, it's hard. And as you go up the hill, you start to lose friends, you start to lose people, you start to lose family. But these are people that weren't meant to be in your life or weren't meant to be in this part of your life. Mm-hmm. It's like shedding dead skin, shedding dead weight. The harder it gets when you get close to the top, it's a good thing, because it's showing that, for me, it's the universe. I believe in destiny, I believe in the universe, I believe in God, and I believe that the people that aren't meant to be in your life aren't going to stay in your life. Everyone's meant to be in your life maybe for a season or forever. Some of them are a lesson or a blessing, but I think it's a good thing though too when you lose people that weren't meant to be in your life, because when you get to that point in life, when you finally make it, you realize the people that matter to you the most and that care about you the most are the ones that want to see you win, even from the very beginning. So it's nice to hear another person that relates with that.
A lot of people find that entrepreneurs are kind of sociopathic, and they just like get rid of people like that with no emotions, no feeling. And it's not like that. It still hurts. Like when you have to leave friends behind, or when like a family stops talking to you because you want to do something different that they wanted for you. It's hard, But at the end of the day, if you have a passion, if you feel like you have a calling, that you need to fulfill, you just have to go for it, right? You've been in the army, right? You have a mission, you got to fulfill it, right? That's it. So you just go for the mission. You don't look left and right. You just do it.
I like what you said that you have to have a calling. So when you moved to the UK, Mike, what was your initial calling in your first business? You did mention that you were helping your mom with her accounting firm.
Yeah, so basically I always wanted to have like an online business. So my very first company was, it doesn't exist anymore unfortunately, it was called capitalinvest.co.uk. And I created an online platform. This was back in 2006. It was a platform that was inspired by Shark Tank, where people can upload their business plans and pitch to investors to invest in their businesses. But we didn't count with scammers. I mean, I come from kind of like an honest background, and I was a bit naive maybe, but there was a lot of scams and false business plans and whatever, just basically scammers uploading bullshit on the platform. We had to manually vet every single business plan that was uploaded to the platform. So I had to read through like thousands of business plans, and day and night I was reading these business plans that was coming onto the platform. And then came 2008, where a lot of people lost money due to the financial crisis, and investors became more risk averse. So ultimately, we ended up shelving the project, and I went on to create my second business, which was the email marketing company, which actually worked out, and that got acquired. So I'm quite proud of that.
So your first company, what happened with? Did you close it down, or did you?
Well, I shelved the project, and in the meantime, I met a lady who I thought was going to be the love of my life. We had a beautiful son together, and basically during the separation, I kind of lost everything. So I left with 2 bags, no money. I left everything for her, and I told her, like, look, darling, you can keep everything, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to come back better than before, and I did.
I like what you just shared there, Mike. I resonate with that. Like going through heartbreak. Sometimes that's the biggest thing as men that we need to level up. And I've learned in life, especially as a man, in order to grow, you have to go through pain. For men, especially, you have to go through pain to grow. It's like a diamond. A diamond is formed under pressure, and I think that unfortunately, sometimes it takes heartbreak, even including myself, to share my story a little bit. It took heartbreak for me to become who I am. Before I was too nice, before I would give too many chances. Even with business, I wasn't as strict with my business. I'd always stop what I'm doing to, help her and I put her on a pedestal. And it made me learn after that heartbreak to, hey, what's really important? You need to stay on your mission and your purpose. So I'm glad you said that too, mission and purpose. How did you know that your second company, the email marketing company, was your next mission and purpose that you wanted to do in life when you started that?
Well, that was kind of born out of a need. So I was doing marketing consulting after shelving the Capital Invest project. One of my clients ran into issues with spam. So basically all their email marketing got categorized as spam. And for like 2-3 months, they couldn't send any emails because even like the transaction emails weren't received. Everything just went to the spam, and they started losing a lot of money as a result.
Oh, wow.
So they were asking me, like, find a solution for us. I had a contact who at the time was working for the largest email marketing company in Europe, and basically he was building their deliverability compliance platform in-house. Actually, I started working with Sebastian at the time, and I persuaded him to let's create something like that, and let's offer it commercially to email marketing companies, to large volume email marketers. And that's exactly what we did. Inboxes.com. Check it out. It's still up and running. Great service. So basically, that's how it was. And it was just, again, the same calling, the same purpose, supporting honest small business owners to grow, to generate more revenue, and to get their message out to their audiences.
Gotcha. And with inboxes.com, correct?
Yeah.
You sold it and someone acquired it? Is that correct?
That's right, yes. There was a chap who was working for Adobe. He wanted to start a business on his own. He left Adobe and bought me out. He became the CEO of Inboxes. Wow. And he's been running it since. So fantastic service, like I honestly recommend it, but it was time for me to move on. Working online has a lot of challenges, and we spoke about it before the interview actually, that sometimes when you work remotely with remote teams, like you can feel very isolated and very lonely. Sometimes you don't get out of the house much because you're just in front of the computer so much. My only solace, my only network was really just the gym. I just kept going training, like my martial arts training. I just kept training and training every day, and that was the only time I got out of the house. And actually I realized I enjoy it more than being in front of the computer. You know, I realized that I enjoy being with people, I enjoy the interaction, and I really enjoyed not sitting but actually moving and doing something physical. So that led me on to my third business story, and I opened a self-defense studio here in Prague. Started offering Krav Maga classes after I got my certification from the Israeli units. I had 4 trainers at one point, and then during COVID we managed to successfully transition to online trainings with a stunt actor actually who was helping me film the videos, and we created some really great content together with him. Super proud of that, and eventually I sold the business to a local studio owner who wanted to expand, and I went back to consulting and marketing. That's what I do now, just business consulting service, helping young entrepreneurs, new business owners who want to launch their businesses. I help them to build on solid foundations, honest methods, no gimmicks, no scammy stuff, just solid, real business foundations. From my experience, from sustainable financial methods, and basically sustainable marketing and sales methods as well.
Okay, wow, that's a lot that you shared. Thank you for that. I actually want to go back a little bit. You said that you sold your last 2 businesses. How long were you in those businesses before you exited the company, and why did you choose to exit? I know that your second company, the guy left Adobe and wanted to buy you out, so that was a good opportunity. But at what point as an entrepreneur and CEO are you considering selling the company, and why, instead of continuing on with it?
Right, I mean 3 to 5 years I think is probably a good point or to either raise capital or exit, and I only decided to exit Inboxes because I really felt very isolated, just working in front of the computer and not having the personal interaction, and just doing online meetings, and literally my monitor was my window to the world, which can be tough. I mean, people glamorize entrepreneurship, but there are a lot of things under the surface that they don't see, and how difficult it actually is. So you really have to have a very strong drive to be an entrepreneur and to see it through, to make it profitable, to make it work. It's a lot.
I want to go into that a little bit about the isolation, because even myself, bro, like all of my business I run on my computer. 14 hours out of the day I'm here at home. The only time I leave during the week, Monday to Friday, I'm very strict with my schedule, is when I go to the gym and come back. That's it. And it's very isolating. Like, you're the first human interaction I've had all day, other than like me going to the gym, saying hi to people, but like having a conversation, sitting down in real life, not on a Zoom call, not on the internet. And it gets very lonely, bro. It gets very isolating. I was just talking to a friend of mine last week on Zoom. We had an interview, and there's a difference between being isolated and feeling lonely. And I've learned as an entrepreneur, you experience both, but sometimes one is more than the other. I'm okay with being isolated. I actually like being by myself and working by myself. But when it's for a long period of time and you don't see anyone, that's when the loneliness starts creeping. That's when it really feels like, wow, I don't feel like I have no friends. Even though I have friends, but it's like, I don't know, it's a different, when you have different pools of friends that don't really know what you're doing, and they're not in the same circle.
They can't relate, right?
They can't relate. And I've noticed that when I go out with those friends, nothing wrong with that, we just talk about like, very surface level things. There's no in-depth conversations. It's very just...
Your journey is so different, you're like on a different wavelength a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I wouldn't criticize anyone for that. Everyone lives their own journey in life, but at the end of the day, it's just nice to be understood.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't understand that, because I do agree that what you said earlier, a lot of people glamorize entrepreneurship. I was just made a video on that a couple of weeks ago, where people only really share a lot of the highlights of what's cool about it. You get to work from home, you're your own boss, you make your own schedule. You could disguise the limit with your income. You can go on vacation whenever you want. But it's actually, I think, harder being an entrepreneur than working for someone, honestly. There's a difference between entrepreneurship and intrapreneur. An intrapreneur, when I was in the military, I was more of an intrapreneur. I was in a company, but I was doing the best I could, but you're capped. And it was good money. But when I left and became an entrepreneur full-time, that's when I was having anxiety attacks. When I first left the military, I was on my own. I really had to figure everything out. And then also, there's a lot more stress because now you have to be very disciplined. That's the biggest thing is discipline. Staying with your schedule, doing what you say you're gonna do, and then showing up every day even though you're tired. And that's why the gym has helped me so much. Like what you were saying, the gym was like one of the biggest things.
Yeah, that's right. And discipline. Honestly, without having discipline, your business is never going to work. So that's if you only take away one thing from this podcast, remember that when you start your own business, you really need to be disciplined and frugal with your time. You have to be mindful of how you spend your time because that makes or breaks your business. It's easy to get distracted and how people say you have freedom. And actually, I have a really close friend who was working at McKinsey's, and he asked me if I wanted to go and work for them. I was like, why would I want to go work for you? Like, I got my own business. And he said, oh, well, but you never have time. And I was like, yeah, but I got freedom. And he said, well, how can you call a 14-hour workday, 5 days a week freedom? And I was like, yeah, but I'm building my freedom. 10 years later, you're still going to be in that job doing, like, you have to turn up and do your thing. 10 years later, I'm going to be kicking back somewhere.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I love about being an entrepreneur is literally you make your own schedule. And I don't know about you, but like when I was in the military, even though I was in for 11 years, I didn't like people telling me what to do. I couldn't be my own person. And then when I wanted to do a certain thing with my business or like in the military, you can't. You have to stick to the rules. And I don't know, I think what I've learned with a lot of entrepreneurs, we have a different kind of mindset too. We go against society's norms, obviously. We don't stick to what's regular. And when you're forced to be part of this society, sometimes it makes you feel weird in a certain way. That's how I feel personally, with some things.
Oh, I feel weird as well, but it's good to be weird.
Yeah.
To be honest, and that's an interesting part, going back to your military regime and everything that we were discussing before. So in the first 2-3 years of your company, you really have to put in a lot of work until you can get the company to the level where it's kind of sustainable and self-running in a way, and it starts generating business. And that's when you can really experience freedom. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to quit my job tomorrow and then 2 weeks later or like 3 months later, I'm going to be generating 7 figures and I can put my feet up and I don't have to do anything. It's really not like that. And anyone who will tell you otherwise, be cautious. For the first 2-3 years, you work your ass off, you work harder than you ever worked in your life, you make a ton of sacrifices with your time, schedule, friendships, everything. And then you're going to start seeing the fruits, and then you're going to really, then you'll be able to really live the life that you want.
And so you said you started your entrepreneur journey at 18, correct?
18, I moved away, and the first go, that was 2001, and I set up the company in 2006.
Wow. And how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm turning 40 this weekend, actually.
Okay. Happy early birthday, man.
Thank you.
It's crazy, though, because I started at 18 as well. And I think that as entrepreneurs, would you say your mom was a big, I guess, motivation and inspiration for you to become an entrepreneur? Or was it more so it was inside you already? Like, what is your view on that? Are you born an entrepreneur? Or is it your environment?
Definitely, my mom was a huge inspiration, and as a female, as a strong woman and a female entrepreneur, like, you know, it was so unique. Like, we're talking early 90s, so you know, the things that are trending these days about female entrepreneurship and women in leadership, that weren't happening back then, right? That wasn't around. But my mom made it. Like in '91, she set up her company. Wow. And she grew to having 200 clients with 4 partners together. It was amazing. It was an amazing journey, and I watched her do that. I was part of it. I saw the upsides and the downsides and the long hours she used to have to put in. Like, there was so many times she was working even over Christmas. She was on the computer, like filing accounts, like finishing the year for her clients and whatever. I remember those days, but I admired her for it. Like, at that time, it seemed hard, but I understood why she was doing it. I ended up feeling the same way about building my business. And my son sees me work all the time. Like, he comes around and he goes, "Oh, Daddy, you're always working." And I'm like, one day you will see why.
That's amazing, though. That's an amazing story. What would you say for you as far as time management goes? How did you learn to balance everything, especially having a son? How did you learn to balance your business, spending time with your son, spending time for yourself, like going to the gym, and then just having a life still? and having, friends and everything. Because for me, I'm still struggling with that too.
Well, firstly, I trained martial arts from an early age, so that gave me structure and it made me a very disciplined person. That's one part of it. I was struggling to balance different areas of my life for a long time. I still do. Personal life, like having time for friends or for dating or time with my son, for time for myself, time for the gym and running a business. It's difficult to juggle. I have a friend and she told me something that really sparked my brain, and she said that you need to listen to where you need to give more. And that is so true. Sometimes your business needs more attention. Sometimes your friends need your attention. Sometimes your family needs your attention. And you just have to be present and mindful and know where you need to put a little bit more energy now.
Okay.
At that time.
It's hard to manage and balance everything. That's all what life is about, is balance. But especially in entrepreneurship, it's even harder. We've got a lot of stress on our plates.
Yeah, I want to put this out there though, that I was always dreaming of maybe meeting somebody and building a business together, and then retiring and enjoying what we built together. But that never kind of happened. I was in 2 long relationships and under pressure, both of them broke. Of course, it's partially my fault. It always takes two. It's never just one person. So I'm responsible for that. But that never happened, and I would have really liked that to happen.
I think us as entrepreneurs are always searching for that. Even like as men, same with me. I always had the dream to find someone that helps me with my business, a partner that's working on the business with me. And, there's nothing wrong with that. I still have that dream. And the girlfriend I have now, she's amazing. She helps me with my business in other ways. She supports me and stuff. The other day she was like, oh, have you tried making YouTube shorts for your content? I was like, actually, I do that, but thanks for sharing that with me. Just the thought that she thought of that and wanted to help, that's amazing. But going back to what you said, like having someone work in the business with you and grow that together, that's always been a dream of mine. And I think a lot of men can relate with that. But I think it's very hard to find something like that.
Do you know what? I think like having a business is a lot like having a baby. It's literally when you start in your business out, when you launch your product onto the market, it's like your baby was born, right? And you really have to attend to the baby's needs, and you got to take care of it. And as the baby gets older and grows into a child or a little person, it needs less and less attention, and eventually they are kind of self-sustainable. And it's the same with the business. But in the early days, you really need to give a lot of focus. So if you had a partner who you would be building with, like Alex Hormozy does, right? So if you have a partner, it's like you got to look at their businesses like it's your baby.
Yeah. No, I like what you said there with Alex Hormozy. He's one of my biggest role models. I just finished his book, 100 Million Offers. Yeah. Have you read that one?
Yeah, absolutely.
I recommend that to all of you guys, 100 Million Offers. It changed my mindset as far as pricing and value, because before I would always see what's the market, what are they all pricing their stuff at, and then I always undercut it and try to make it lower. But then it just becomes a price war. Then now you're basing your value off of whatever everyone else is charging. Whereas what he teaches is monopolize the market and make your value so much and different than everyone else that you can charge as much as you want. And ever since I started doing that, I learned that I've been able to charge more, and people are still paying that too. And I'm like, just one little tweak in your business and your mindset and providing more value and thinking how many problems you can solve for people that are in your business, that went a long way for me. I mean, I'm still growing, still learning, still have a long way to go, but that book alone has helped me out so much. What would you say is one of your favorite books that's helped you on your entrepreneur journey?
Oh, I read a lot of books, but Hormozy is definitely one of the best. I'm a huge fan of 10X, the 10X rule. I mean, Grant Cardone, he's a very controversial person. Nevertheless, he comes from an accounting background himself. Not many people know that about him, that he actually comes from an accounting background. He built several different businesses. He really emphasizes how difficult it is. It's going to take 10 times more effort than what you expect, and you're going to have to work 10 times harder You have to set 10 times higher goals because otherwise you fall short, then basically you're down to zero. A lot of that stuff I can really resonate with just based on experience and based on how business finances work. Like you really need to look at your cash flow and you need to look at, okay, these are my monthly expenses. Just breaking even cannot be a target, right? Then because 1 month you fall short of that target and then what, you go hungry? That's nonsense. That cannot be a target. And if you start to think bigger, then you'll be able to accomplish much bigger things as well.
Definitely. I like what you said there. Think bigger, you'll be able to accomplish bigger things. One of my favorite quotes is if you shoot for the moon and miss, you'll still land amongst the stars.
Yes,
that's my
I
favorite.
like the saying as well.
And I've learned too in my entrepreneur journey, you have to surround yourself with people that are not necessarily better than you, but they're already further in their journey and they have a lot of wisdom to share with you. Because when you surround yourself with people like that, it forces you to get higher into their level. And it's hard to find people like that though sometimes. But I like surrounding myself in crowds like that.
I met one guy like that. It's a funny story. So basically, I met this guy and he sold several companies and he was doing extremely well. Like he was living the life that I wanted to achieve. Last year at Christmas, I was reflecting on what happened during the year and who I met. And I remember this guy. So I reached out to him and I asked him, would you mentor me? And he said, well, what do you want to know? And I said to him, like, how do you do it? Just tell me, like, what does it take to build and sell companies the way you do it? And he said, look, the way I think about it, I go in with having a buyer in mind for my business before I even start building it.
Oh, okay.
I was like, wow, that's next level.
How do you find a buyer for your business before you enter the business though?
So basically, he knows who he wants to sell the business to or what type of audience he wants to sell the business to. And he is building the business to make it attractive for those potential buyers. He gets acquired by big corporates usually. So because corporates cannot build fast, they got processes, there is no alleviation, you can't experiment, they don't let you do that, right? So basically he builds like lean startups, he builds fast and agile, and he accomplishes stuff that the market needs and that big corporates will want. So they just go and instead of trying to build it themselves, just like Facebook did with Instagram, for instance, like Instagram was acquired, I think after just 1 year, it was the fastest growing company at the time. And it would have taken ages for Facebook to build something like it and beat Instagram at their own game. So instead they just acquired Instagram, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of like what the guy does as well. He builds agile, he builds fast, he gets a market share, and when the corporate see it, instead of trying to build it themselves, they just acquire his companies.
Wow, that's amazing. So that's his primary thing, is build companies and then sell it to someone he already knows is going to buy. And were all his companies different industries, or is it always in the same?
No, it's software. He only does software companies.
Okay, because I was going to say that's hard to build different businesses in different industries, and you have to learn everything. That's amazing though, hearing that. But I've learned too in entrepreneurship. I did a podcast the other day. This guy I interviewed, he's in California. He owns 6 companies, 2 of them being nonprofits. And I asked him, how did you start every single one of these companies? They're all different, but they all kind of tie together. He was a prior cop too in LA for 8 years. And one of the companies he built out was it's like a treatment center where they help people get off of drugs and alcohol and
really nice,
get out of the addiction, because that's what his story was. He was an alcoholic. He told me, what I was fascinated about it was they started their treatment center when he was still in treatment. And they didn't even know how to do it. Him and his partner were just talking about it, like, let's do it. And they made it happen. They found the things they had to do. They only had a little bit of money, but they made it happen. And they didn't know, maybe A to Z how to get there, but they learned A to B, and then from B to C, and then C to D. And I've learned in my entrepreneurship journey, the mistakes I've made was analysis paralysis, where I try to learn everything, the whole picture, and then try to do it. But I've learned, no, just know what you need to know now, and then when you get to the problem, then figure it out. Because we're problem solvers. That's what I learned in entrepreneurship. We're problem solvers.
And this is also a very good point that you just made, like trying to learn everything by yourself so you can do it alone. It is one of the biggest mistakes. Like imagine how long does it take to learn something, especially to master something, to be really good at something. Instead of doing that's a total waste of time. You need to focus on what you're really good at, what you know, and find people who are good at the other stuff that you need, and find a way to work with them. If you don't have $10,000 to start a business, probably you shouldn't be starting a business. In all fairness, I'm going to put this out there, and many people might not like this. You can hate me for this, but that's just the reality of things. If you don't have that much working capital, then you should be focusing on your job and making the best you can in the job, like advancing your career so that you can put the capital together and invest it into building your own business. And you quit your own business maybe when it starts generating enough revenue, at least covering your living expenses.
Definitely, because like even for me, in the States it's kind of different because we leverage credit, especially business credit. And for me, that's how I was able to get my business started. Because for me, I was in the military, so I was able to use my credit card to start my business. But I agree with you. You have to have some sort of capital. If it's credit, if it's cash, you need capital to start your business or you can't operate. And I love what you said there too. Instead of trying to learn everything, outsource it to people that already know how to do it. Know an overview of it, but you don't need to know every single minute detail, because I do the exact same thing. And that's the biggest thing I would say for everyone out there is hire the people that you need in those positions that you can't do yourself and that you're not good at. Don't waste your time in trying to learn it, because I used to do that too.
Yeah. For example, like setting up sales automation or something like that is super technical, right? So by the time you learn it and you start messing about with it, even if you follow instructions from like ChatGPT or something like that, and you try to figure it out, for a professional, it's like a day's work. You're going to spend a month on that.
Yep. You're going to spend so much time. They say time is money. It's true.
Yeah.
Time is money.
You could be like literally prospecting already and making money, but instead like you're there day and night trying to figure out how to run this properly, and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to get your account banned and whatever, because you just don't know how to do it. So instead, just give it to somebody who's done that a million times, and they will do better than you.
Yep.
And then you can focus on the things that you're good at.
And you know what I've learned from that too, man, when you hire people for those positions, not everyone is an entrepreneur, not everyone's a CEO, not everyone wants to be a business owner. There's nothing wrong with it. There's people that rather would be focused on that one specialty, which is good. And I'm glad that there's people like that, or else how can we run our businesses? And you need those people in your business to keep your business going. And you just have to build a good team, and you really have to give value. That's the biggest thing, give value and lead them too.
That's right. But it's also very difficult to find credible and reliable contractors. Like if you go on these crowdsourcing platforms, what is it, like Fiverr,
Upwork,
and
Freelancer.
There are a ton of very low quality providers that like you go there and you hire some of those people, and you end up having to hire 3 or 4 people in the end just to get the job done right. So it's also
a lot of vetting.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's better to find somebody who comes from a recommendation, maybe somebody who can show you like credible references, and it's often worth calling up those references and checking with them. So for example, there was this guy and he was pitching me a service, and he had lots of references on his website. So I just randomly like picked one out, and I looked the guy up who was his reference. He didn't even have a business. I was like,
really?
Man, like, come on.
The reference.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, come on.
Wow. So there's a lot of like smoke and mirrors out there. That's the thing you got to be careful with. Okay, that's interesting. To go into your last business, you currently do business consulting. So in that line of business, what have you found is the most difficult thing that you're dealing with right now?
I'm building my 4th business, and I'm still in the early stages of building, which is obviously the most difficult part, like we already discussed. So I'm still going through the initial hurdles, but it's all good. And I do believe that every business owner needs a business and financial plan. They need visibility, and they need sales. And this is exactly what I help them to accomplish. I help them to develop a sustainable business plan. I create the cash flow model that is going to be aligned with their goals and aspirations and resources. And then we look at the sales and marketing strategy. When everything is mapped out, there is a clear roadmap. Then we look at how to take it online, like what are the channels we need to leverage to get them in front of their customers, and how to convert the customers.
It's like a blueprint for their success.
Exactly.
Okay. I definitely would be needing that as well.
Oh, yeah?
That would be very beneficial for me, because I have a slight roadmap that I've created, but it's not as in depth of what you're talking about. It's more so like I'm learning as I go. But I think it'd be very beneficial to have that too, to have a map of what you need to do.
Sure, I'll
versus
be really
engineering
happy to help
everything.
you. Thank you.
Definitely. And I guess with you and your current line of business too, what have you found is your most ideal client or person that you need if someone's watching this that might need your help? Is it business owners primarily, or like how do you find these people?
So I really enjoy working with service providers with a positive social impact. Some of my previous clients were like climate coaching company, for example. They go into corporates to help to accelerate the sustainability goals at the corporations and to deliver measurable results. Right now I'm working with an adoption counselor actually who specializes in transracial adoptions and helping the children to integrate into the family and the local community. I also worked on a project that was, well, it had a charitable arm supporting multiple sclerosis charities basically. So part of the revenue that they were generating, we had to make a cash flow that had enough profit to donate to multiple sclerosis charities every month.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I really enjoy working with companies that have a positive social impact, and those would be my ideal customers.
Okay,
really.
that's amazing. That's awesome that you're doing that. It's a good service to the community. It's not just wealth based. It's like helping people that are trying to help the community build their roadmap. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, when you have kids, or when you have a kid, like you're trying to leave this place better for them than how you found it. And I think we are all responsible for shaping this world.
I love that you said that. What would you say for you within your business practices and the businesses that you've sold? What have you found to be the most, I guess, passionate thing that you've done in your business? What would you say were the most passionate ones for you, and then what were the most highest dollar producing activities that you focus on right now?
Actually, after starting my gym, I did a lot of soul searching. I had a question in my mind, and it was like, what is the greatest value you can provide in this life? And it took me a good 6 months, maybe even 8, to figure it out. And I came back to the one thing that's been inside me since I was a young kid, and it's just helping entrepreneurs, to be honest. And this is it. So I realized like I could build businesses if I want, but it's not really my passion. My passion is helping others to create their businesses and for them to be able to thrive. And that's the most fulfilling thing for me.
Okay, that's amazing. I kind of resonate with that too, because same with my line of business is helping other people that are wanting to escape the 9 to 5 and be their own boss. Who would you say is one of your biggest role models or mentors that helped guide you through the process of becoming who you are?
To be honest, a lot of names come to mind, but one definitely stands out. And as strange as it may sound, it's actually Bear Grylls. After my separation, I read his book Mud, Sweat and Tears.
Mud, Sweat and Tears by Bear Grylls?
Yeah, Bear Grylls.
Okay.
Do you know him?
That's the Australian guy, right?
He's English, yeah. He
English?
was in
Okay.
the SAS, in the British
Gotcha.
Special Forces, and he had a parachuting accident. He broke his back. They told him he would never walk again, and 2 years later he was the youngest Brit to ever climb the Mount Everest, and now he's the head of the Scouts, and he's got this survival TV program, Men versus Wild.
Yeah.
And whatever. He's amazing. So basically he talks through his journey, like going to college, enrolling in the military training, going into the special forces, having this accident and coming back from that. And just reading the book was so inspiring, and coming out of that separation, like, as I said, I left with 2 bags, no money, and I was really down. Like I had to leave my son, and I never wanted to have a broken family ever in my life. That was like one of my greatest fears, to have a broken family, and I had to walk out on my son, and I felt terrible. But just reading that book, it really picked me up, and it put things in perspective, and it helped me put my mind back in place. So if it wasn't for that, I'm not sure I would have came out of that. Yeah. So he was definitely the most inspiring person for me.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing for that.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I still watch his programs, and he wrote a lot of children's books as well. I buy his books for my son as well to help to cultivate the positive spirits and to carry on the torch.
That's cool, and it's good to be a role model for your son. That's amazing, man. But hey, thank you so much for your time and for sharing
Thank
your
you too,
story.
John.
Really appreciate it. I'm sure there's a lot of people that enjoyed hearing your story, how you became your own boss and what you're currently doing, how you sold your prior businesses, and a lot of the experiences you went through that made you who you are today. And you know, for everyone watching, if you found value in this, definitely share this with someone that could benefit from it, and then comment down below what your favorite part is. And going to Mike, like if anyone is looking to follow Mike or find any business with him, how can they find you?
It's just Mike Handa. That's H-A-N for November, D for Delta, A, MikeHanda.com. And that's my Insta handle. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. And if you have a business with a positive social impact, I would be really happy to help you build, grow your business and show you the blueprint how to actually turn it into a profitable venture.
And where can they find you for that?
MikeHanda.com.
There you go, MikeHanda.com. All right, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace. Awesome, brother.
Thanks
Dude,
a
that
lot.
was good, man. You're a natural.
Thank you.